I'm Talia Ricci. Tonight, Fiona smashes into Atlantic Canada, washing away homes and knocking out power. We'll have the latest on the damage and local efforts here to help. Plus,
it is important for this because not everyone else is going to have access to the information.
A free event helps Black youth and children prepare for a safe and healthy school year. We'll take you to the Back to School Health and Wellness Symposium. And
the impact is significant. Not only the people, the family, the friends, and the community.
Dozens gather downtown for a community march to stand against gun violence and to honor the victims of homicide.
This is CBC Saturday News.
There's widespread damage across Atlantic Canada tonight after post-tropical storm Fiona walloped the region. Homes have been destroyed across several provinces, and hundreds of thousands are without power. Ellen Morrow has the latest.
Fiona's fury devastating Port aux Basques on Newfoundland's southwestern coast. Entire homes ripped away, swallowed by the storm surge as winds gusted to 134 kilometers an hour. Fiona barreled into Atlantic Canada overnight, making landfall in eastern Nova Scotia, toppling countless trees, leaving hundreds of thousands without power.
It's pretty horrific. There's a lot of devastation around, trees down.
The words don't describe that. It's just devastating.
Nova Scotia has asked the federal government for military and disaster assistance. In Shediac, New Brunswick, Erica Biggs and her family frantically escaped their vacation cottage as it was flooding.
There's water in. I have my son, my dog, my grandmother, and my mother. The fire department of Shediac was amazing.
In Halifax, many streets are impassable.
Residents have been trying to do whatever cleanup they can on their own, removing the branches that they can. We've also seen cleanup crews going around with chainsaws and trucks trying to get these streets cleared.
I was kind of hoping it would be a little less than this, damage-wise, but you can't expect that when it's a hurricane.
Fiona pummeled Charlottetown and much of Prince Edward Island throughout the early morning hours.
Fiona hit us hard, beyond anything that we have witnessed before in Prince Edward Island.
Oh, she's got a deck of cards right there.
You've got cards!
That's cards! Getting together right there.
Her and her playing cards now.
Some are trying to make the best of it. These evacuees making friends at a Charlottetown hotel.
I'm going to have a party with the next door neighbor.
Sure, we'll party. We have a few drinks. We do have a few drinks. We'll invite them over, have some drinks.
By the noise we've heard coming out of that room, they sound like they've already been at it pretty hard.
Not today.
A light moment at a heavy time. For so much of Atlantic Canada, there's a difficult recovery ahead. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Halifax.
The impact of Fiona is being felt across the country, including here at home, where preparations are underway to send aid and support. Ontarians are also struggling to get in contact with family members out east. Meg Roberts joins us now. Meg, what are you hearing from residents?
Well, I know a lot of people, especially with loved ones out east, are watching the news pretty closely today. If you've ever lived on the East Coast, you know storms are nothing new, but post-tropical storm Fiona has already done an incredible amount of damage. Now, it's been scary for one Toronto woman with family out in Cape Breton and Sydney to watch. She says she reached out to family last night and didn't hear back until hours later, as thousands are without internet and cell service. She started a Facebook group with her relatives to check in on them, and she says damage to their properties and communities has been intense.
I lived out in Halifax for a while, so I've been through a hurricane and I've been through storms. This is nothing like that. Those were fairly mild compared to what I'm understanding of this storm, and it's just devastating to go through those images on Twitter and see them all, like streets that I know that I drove down, places I visit with my family, and there are trees everywhere, there are lines down. One of the streets looked like the street my dad grew up on, and it was hardly recognizable. Like, it was very upsetting.
She says she will be looking for fundraising efforts in the coming days to help some of these communities repair the damage that has been done.
Now, Meg, what do you know about local efforts to provide support to people on the East Coast?
Well, as we hope for the best, a GTA-based charity that provides disaster relief aid is preparing for the worst. Global Medic says it's standing by, waiting for the bad weather to pass to see what support these provinces might need. That could range from crews of people to cut up trees, drone pilots, or distributing goods and materials like personal hygiene kits or flood cleanup kits.
Are globally deployed, so we're always looking to go, right? And we're always looking at opportunities to respond where we can help folks. From what we know of the storm, it's pretty ugly. It is pretty hard hitting. There's going to be people that have needs. If the needs are something that we can help with immediately, right, we will.
Ford tweeting this out today, saying Ontario is here to help in whatever way the province can. And although there are efforts underway to provide help, that storm is not yet over, and it may take some time before power is restored, roads fixed, and those state of emergencies lifted. Talia.
Thanks, Meg. Matt DiNicolantonio from the Weather Network joins us now for a first look at the forecast. And Matt, you've been tracking Fiona. What are you seeing now?
Well, the good news is that the worst certainly appears to be over, but as you've mentioned, cleanup efforts will be ongoing and an extensive process. So we'll start with, you mentioned power outages. These were peak power outages on Saturday. Nearly 95% of Prince Edward Island was without power at one point. Strongest wind gusts, eastern Nova Scotia, 179 kilometers an hour. And as far as our hardest hit areas in terms of rainfall, Antigonish, 117 millimeters, and that was through Saturday morning. So some of these areas could see additional rainfall. I mentioned the storm will continue to move north, and by Sunday morning we'll be out of the region, which is certainly good news. Tomorrow will certainly be a day where everyone will want to start to clean up, but unfortunately Monday is going to see some more rain from a different system entering the region. All right, let's talk about things a little bit closer to home. A cool evening on this Saturday, 14 degrees. Rain is moving in through the overnight hours, so you're likely going to be waking up to some showers on Sunday morning. Kind of an all-day event with this low-pressure system moving through. Some lake effect showers there as well, continuing into Monday before things will finally start to ease on Tuesday. More on your long-range outlook a little bit later in the program.
Thanks, Matt. York police are investigating a fatal house fire in Vaughan Friday night as a homicide. Emergency crews responded to the fire just before 8 p.m. Friday near Park Tree Drive and Lucenda Crescent. Officers and fire crews arrived to find a woman inside the home. She was transported to hospital where she was later pronounced dead. Investigators are asking anyone with information to come forward. Students, parents, educators, and health experts from the Black community gathered at a Scarborough school today for an event focused on the health of children and youth. The Back to School Symposium aimed to build trust in COVID-19 vaccines, but also addressed a variety of other health-related topics. Ryan Patrick Jones was there.
With the school year in full swing, the health of students is top of mind for many parents.
We all know that COVID changed everything, so hoping to get tips on how to deal with the new normal.
I want to learn more to see what I can bring to my children.
Today's event saw discussions on COVID-19 with a focus on providing fact-based information to Black parents about the safety and risks of vaccines.
Word on the street is that the pandemic is over, but we know it's not. And we want to make sure, as I said, that our community has been fully vaccinated.
According to Toronto Public Health, vaccine uptake among residents 11 and under lags behind that of older age groups. And officials have encountered some hesitancy in the Black community. But Dr. Burt says that's improving.
A lot of our community live in the certain areas of the city that had a low vaccination rate. But now, at least for the first 2 doses, those vaccination rates are on par with the general population in the GTA.
For some Black parents, the choice about whether to vaccinate their kids isn't a done deal, and getting information from trusted medical experts could make them reconsider.
I am here with an open mind, so I'm willing to listen and hear what they have to say and take that into consideration.
But the symposium was about much more than COVID-19. Exhibits highlighted the historical role of Black scientists and doctors in the medical field. Experts also held workshops on anti-Black racism, mental health, nutrition, and exercise.
And so our young people are experiencing microaggressions and various forms of racism in their different environments. And this plays out in various different ways and impacts them in terms of their self-esteem, their behaviors, their self-confidence.
Parents here today say events like this are important because they provide a safe space for the community.
It is about representation. So not to say that others don't know or have an idea of what we're going through, but sometimes it's the approach of how messages are delivered, the lived experience of those who are delivering the message, and they can give it to us in a way that we understand and that we appreciate.
Ryan Patrick Jones, CBC News, Toronto.
The Brampton mayoral election is just a month away, and today Nikki Kaur is kicking off her campaign.
As soon as we get into office on October 24th, we're going to be putting 100 new officers on the roads so Bramptonians feel safer on the streets and in their homes. I want to bring accountability, transparency, and leadership in City Hall, not scandals, mismanagement, and failed leadership at City Hall.
A big part of her platform is to make Brampton safer. Kaur is a lawyer, business owner, and proud Bramptonian. Patrick Brown also out this weekend looking for votes.
End of the day, you get lots of candidates, and I'm the incumbent, so I realize there's going to be criticism from those who aspire to hold the same office. But certainly we're feeling a lot of support in the city. We've had a lot of momentum with a new hospital, with a new medical school, with major economic development projects.
Brown says he's focused on advocating for more police resources, lowering taxes for residents, and housing. The municipal election is set for October 24th. Dozens gathered for an anti-gun violence rally today, calling on all levels of government to do more to interrupt the cycle of violence. Dale Manukduk has more.
The people united can only stop the violence.
Some 200 people marched downtown Toronto today to say enough, to remember their loved ones, the Brendans, the Zabions, the Kissingers, countless loved ones taken too soon.
It was vital for me to find people who I could connect with, who understood what was going on inside my head, going on inside my heart, and truly understand that, I won't just get over this and I won't just move on.
Evelyn Fox's 26-year-old son, Kissinger Gunn, was struck in the head during a shootout outside a Toronto nightclub in 2016. Police say the father of 4 was trying to help a friend. The shooter has never been caught, and Fox has dedicated her life to seeking justice and helping others.
I still have work to do to hold this person accountable, and I will not stop until he has.
Gun violence is on the rise across the country. In just the last few weeks, a Calgary man was killed inside a restaurant. A shooter in Newfoundland opened fire in 3 separate locations. In Saskatchewan, a 13-year-old girl was taken into custody for bringing a firearm to school. And in Toronto, a 17-year-old shot dead during broad daylight.
15 years ago, 10 years ago, it wasn't like that. Teenagers are carrying guns and they're not afraid to use it in public spaces, in safe spaces, or even if innocents are around.
Many of those who attended the rally say poverty is the root cause for gun violence. Samantha Century Cow Tomlinson was shot in 2019.
It's actually right here. The bullet is right here in my lower spine. You're not going to want to do better if you don't live better. Every day you wake up somewhere where you're afraid for your life, or you wake up and you just hate where you live, you don't have the drive to do better.
Advocates say that more community-led organizations with lived experience need more funding to interrupt the cycle of violence at a young age. Earlier this year, the federal government announced a $12.5 million investment to local Toronto organizations, but some say much more is needed. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
The Battle of Ontario getting off to an early start in the NHL this season. The Toronto Maple Leafs and Ottawa Senators facing off in their first taste of preseason action.
These 2 franchises meet, 2 different lineups here tonight.
The Leafs taking the win against Ottawa, going up by a score of 4-1. Toronto native Mark Giordano bagged 3 assists, while the team's young prospects Alex Steeves and Dennis Mulligan starred with goals on the box sheet. In a unique twist, the Leafs and Sens will face off again tonight at 7 p.m. for Game 2 of a doubleheader. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Parts of Japan today were hit with the country's 2nd typhoon in less than a week. Among the hardest hit places was the area around Shizuoka. It saw a record rainfall, 417 millimeters. But across central Japan, there was heavy rain and wind gusts reaching 90 kilometers an hour. 2 deaths were reported. 120,000 households lost power. It came just 5 days after one of the strongest typhoons in years hit western Japan. Dozens of people are rallying to show solidarity with those protesting in Iran. The death of a young Iranian woman, Mahsa Amini, last week sparked protests around the world. They say they're protesting against the brutal Iranian regime. The rally, organized by the Greater Toronto Kurdish House, is one of 2 protests happening today. The other is set to start at 6:30. Russia's foreign minister addressed the UN General Assembly on the Ukraine war today, denouncing the stance taken by the West. It comes in the wake of recent Ukrainian advances. Chris Reyes has the story.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov took to the podium at the United Nations and unleashed a long list of grievances against the West in his speech to the General Assembly.
The Western line here undermines the trust in international institutions as bodies where interests are agreed. It also undermines trust in international law as a guarantee of fairness and protecting the weak against the strong.
Lavrov accused the West of extreme bias against Russia, making peace negotiations impossible. In a news conference right after his speech, Lavrov said Russia is willing to come to the table with Ukraine, but refused to make the first step.
We've drawn the conclusion that they are in no way willing to negotiate. They are selfish through and through. They are egotistical and they think only about themselves and their interests.
The comments come as tensions continue to escalate in Ukraine, where Russia is conducting a series of referenda in the territories they occupy that could lead to annexation of those areas. In his most recent address to the nation, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky urged the international community to invalidate the results.
The world will react absolutely fairly to the pseudo-referenda. They will be unequivocally condemned, as well as to the criminal mobilization that the occupiers are trying to carry out in Crimea and other parts of Ukraine that they still control.
At the UN General Assembly this week, Western leaders, including Canada, US, and Europe, have all condemned Russia's actions.
NATO's answer is to step up support. The best way to end this war is to strengthen the Ukrainians on the battlefield.
In Moscow, riot police dragged anti-war protesters. Russians have been leaving the country or hitting the streets since President Vladimir Putin announced that he'll draft 300,000 more troops to send into Ukraine.
We have very deep conviction that our Western neighbors have racist instincts vis-à-vis Russia as a country, Russia as a nation.
On Saturday, Putin signed several amendments that would criminalize refusing military service during times of mobilization or wartime. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
French Fest is returning to Sudbury this weekend, allowing residents the opportunity to take in some Francophone music. The event is happening at Place des Arts downtown. Visitors will hear the stylings of artists such as Josh McLeod and Mimi O'Bonswen. Ontario will mark the official Franco-Ontarian Day tomorrow. It was first recognized at the University of Sudbury in 1975 and by the province in 2010. Thousands of people were exploring Roy Thomson Hall today for the Toronto Symphony Orchestra's Open House. The event celebrates the TSO's 100-year anniversary, welcoming Torontonians into the historic hall with tours, live music, and activity stations. It was in high demand, with lines wrapping around the building.
Musicians from our orchestra, from our youth orchestra, Persian ensembles, Jamaican ensembles, all kinds of music here. It's so important to have events like this because the Toronto Symphony Orchestra and Roy Thomson Hall belong to everyone. And so we wanted to just create an opportunity that every Torontonian could come and engage with us.
Today's programming was free to the public. It featured local artists and a TSO show. The event kicks off their concert season. Matt's back now with our extended forecast. And Matt, I'm guessing the rest of the week will continue to feel like the beginning of fall.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got showers for the early part of the week and then some cooler temperatures for the end of the week. And that'll begin with those showers tomorrow and temperatures just in the upper teens. I'll recap that rainfall again. You're likely going to be looking at some showers when you wake up tomorrow, sort of most of the day Sunday as this low passes through. As we look ahead to Monday and into Tuesday, we're going to be actually looking at some lake effect showers. So our winds coming out of the northwest. That helps keep our temperatures cool, of course, as well. Gusty wind conditions building through the day tomorrow, going to continue into Monday. Where we're looking at 30 to 50 kilometer an hour gusts through the early portion of the week. Let's pick things up on Sunday evening, and you can see that continued rainfall. Monday is going to be more so of an on and off showers type of day. And as we look ahead into Tuesday, we're going to see some of that rain continuing, but starting to taper off. So as far as our icons go for Monday, 17 degrees in Toronto, 14 degrees a little bit further away from the lakes, but we still see the rain there. And then as we look ahead to Tuesday, very similar, 16 in Toronto, 12 in Kitchener with some widespread rain. This is our temperature pattern. You see another shot of cold air moving in for the middle of the week. There you can see Wednesday and into Thursday as we pause things there, that big blue blob indicating our cooler airs. So there's a look at our 7-day outlook for Toronto. As I mentioned, a rainfall for the beginning of the week. As we look towards the end of the week, we will see that sunshine returning as some higher pressure will come into play, but temperatures that are going to be a little bit cooler than normal. This time of year, we are looking at about 17 or 18 degrees, but Wednesday through Saturday, we're in that 15 to 16 degree range. Saturday, of course, the first day of October already. So certainly fall-like conditions will be here to welcome October.
Thanks, Matt.
No problem.
Now, before we go, from the Don't Try This at Home category, a group of daredevils taking to Toronto today, flying some homemade human-powered flying machines and looking good while doing it.
Spirit of adventure! This is our team of peas from the sky. We've got Peter, the brains of the operation. We've got Peanut and Butter. And of course, we've got our pilot, Captain Peabody.
And why the peas?
We are Snap Pea Design, a engineering design firm from Kitchener, Waterloo, Ontario. And we're representing the peas in the sky today.
It's part of the Red Bull Fluke Tag event where wannabe pilots put their mechanical skills to the test. Contestants gliding through the air at Ontario Place, some going for just a few meters, while others remain in the air much longer. All of the designs were judged by a celebrity panel. Red Bull began doing these events more than 3 decades ago. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.